Śrimad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Shri Śrimad Bhāgavatam ki jai, Shri Shri Nitai ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Bol, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, Gaur Premanandi. Reading from the Śrimad Bhāgavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 29, Explanation of Devotional Service, Text number 20. Yata Granam Ringte Ganda Asaya Evam Yoga Ratam Cheta Atmanam Abhikari Yat. What is that feedback? What is that sound? Hare Krishna. No one else can hear it? Yatavata Rito Granam I can hear it very distinctly. It's like a kind of like feedback.
Echo?
Huh?
Oh, echo?
Yeah. There it is. Like ringing tinny. I'll ring the bell. Oh, please don't ring the bell. Yatavata Rito Granam Avrinte Ganda Asayat Evam Yoga Ritam Cheta Atmanam Abhikariyat Yatavata Rito Granam Avrinte Ganda Asayat Evam Yoga Ritam Cheta Atmanam Abhikariyat
Yata Vata Vato Granam Avinte Ganda Ashayat Evam Yoga Ratam Cheta Atmanam Abhikariyat
particle of air carries an aroma from its source and immediately catches the sense of smell. Similarly, one who constantly engages in devotional service in Krishna consciousness can catch the Supreme Soul who is equally present everywhere. Purport by Śrimad Prabhupada. As a breeze carrying a pleasant fragrance from a garden of flowers, at once captures the organ of smell, so one's consciousness, saturated with devotion, can at once capture the transcendental existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who, in his Paramatma feature, is present everywhere, even in the heart of every living being. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Satyabhama, present within this body. But he is also simultaneously present in every other body. Since the individual soul is present only in a particular body, he is altered when another individual soul does not cooperate with him. The Supersoul, however, is equally present everywhere. Individual souls may disagree, but the Supersoul, being equally present in every body, is called unchanging or abhikari. The individual soul, when fully saturated with Krishna consciousness, can understand the presence of the Supersoul. It is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita that Bhakti-mam amijananti, a person saturated with devotional service in full Krishna consciousness, can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, either as Supersoul or as the Supreme Person. Om Jnana Tamarandasya Jnana Shalakaya Chakshurunvidam Yena Tasmai Shri Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapidam Yena Mutale Swayarupa Kanamayam Dadati Svavanam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Taparakamanam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sankritam Sadhana Prabhatam Sadivam Sadhvenam Sadhvanam Vijanam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Dadan Saganam Lalita Shri Vishaka Scha Hey Krishna Katruna Sindhu Dina Vando Chilate Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Divya Vrindaranya Kalpajumada Śrimad Ratnagara Srinasanasto Śrimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Pistalabi Sevyamano Smarami Shri Manrasa Visarambi Mamsi Bhattastitaha Karshan Venu Sunarbo Bir Gopinantas Yesina Dr. Kanchana Guru Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Ratmani Rije Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripasindu Behavicha Titanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. The nice thing that we can institute is that when the speaker is garlanded, the garland can be taken out of the refrigerator at least like half an hour or 45 minutes before, so it's room temperature and not freezing cold. I think others, besides even myself, would appreciate it. But still, it's transcendental blessing. Krishna wants to bless us with freezing cold or lasting heat. We should use it. In that spirit, you can live in Vrindavan from late May until rainy season in 118-degree temperatures. Yatavata rato brahmanam avrinte ganda asayat evam yoga ritam cheta atmanam avikariyat As the chariot of air carries an aroma from its source and immediately catches the sense of smell, similarly, one who constantly engages in devotional service in Krishna consciousness can catch the Supreme Soul, who is equally present everywhere. So this is a very wonderful chapter. Śrimad Bhāgavatam is very generous to give us many places where Krishna, either directly as himself, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, or in this case, incarnation Kapila Dev, is directly, without any, let's say, argument from the other side. The way that Śrimad Bhāgavatam class is set up, we even see that Prabhupada would speak and somebody would try to interrupt, especially in the beginning, try to train up the wild Westerners, that this is not the forum, you listen, and at the end, and then sometimes people just couldn't handle it, and they would just probably say, all right, what is it? And he would deal with them. And Srila Prabhupada, as the great, unprecedented Acharya, would, in such a fascinating way, deal with everyone and emerge victorious no matter what type of challenge was placed before him. So here, the audience, of course, is everyone, everywhere, for all of time everlasting, as it's being presented in Śrimad Bhāgavatam. But only one person is the audience, and that is his devoted mother, Kapila Devi, who not only is his loving mother, but also a completely surrendered soul and a great devotee. So this, just like you or me, if we're speaking to someone and they're eager to hear what we have to say, they respect what we have to say, and then we feel much more inclined to open up the treasure chest of our heart and share the valuable jewels illuminated within. Actually, when Krishna disguised himself as a demigoddess, you can imagine how beautiful a demigoddess she would be if Krishna takes that disguise, as recorded in, or as described in the glorious Prema Samputa by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, translated as the love locket, that because Radharani was so much pleased with the overall presentation of the Krishna disguised demigoddess, that I now feel inclined to open up my heart of hearts and reveal to you the great treasure that lies within. In the case of that presentation, it's described as the topmost revelation of selfless love in the entire universe. So, Krishna is a person, and he has a train of thought. He has a mode or deliberate plan of presentation. And as a person, it's also mixed in with his personal feelings. It's not just, here are the facts, here's the information. Sometimes people would ask Srila Prabhupada questions, and Prabhupada would see that the questions were just asking questions for not a sincere reason, or for, sometimes we like to talk to hear ourselves speak, or we like to talk to impress others that we're speaking so nicely, another abject of false ego, and Prabhupada would say, what is this? I'm not an answering machine. Like as soon as if I keep putting, money in the chute and I keep pulling the button, then the candy bars will keep coming out. Prabhupada was describing at one time that the supernatural natural and super excellent principle of service and separation, and how I have only met with my spiritual master physically maybe 10 times. And Prabhupada was describing his association, comparing it to some of his other god brothers who had so much association. He himself went forward and did so much, whereas comparatively his other god brothers, you could say, didn't. And then one of the young disciples just thinks he's going to ask an intelligent question. Well, Srila Prabhupada, you must be feeling so much separation from your spiritual master. And Srila Prabhupada just said, that you do not require. So, this presentation, or this revelation from Kapila Dev, up to this point in this chapter, explanation and devotional service, this verse is the conclusion of this particular aspect of his building presentation. Will then enter into describing how the most important and glorious aspect for the devotee in this world to perform always is to worship Krishna in the form of the deity. If it's not done with full self-realization of his presence in the heart of every living entity, is, well, let's just say briefly, problematic or potentially problematic. I am present in every living entity as the super soul. If someone neglects or disregards that super soul everywhere and engages himself in the worship of the deity in the temple, that is simply imitation. Not to steal the thunder of the glasses that come to give us coming attractions. One who worships the deity of Godhead in the temple but does not know that the Supreme Lord is Paramatma, situated in every living entity's heart, must be in ignorance. And how's this for an extremely heavy statement? It is compared to one who offers oblations into ashes, or that you're offering something valuable, but it's meant to be done with accuracy or aim. You know, you have to transfer it or place it in an exact place, and it can't be off caliber or, off the mark. Right? It's like you have to put the money in the right bank account. Okay, it's money, and you're putting it in an account, but if you put it in the wrong account, there was a play that was done, this would be a good play to resurrect, money in the wrong bank account. So a very loyal customer of the bank is, for his whole life, either monthly or bi-monthly or whatever, very regularly coming in, depositing his paycheck, and then he wants to withdraw all the money for his retirement, and then he discovers that his whole life he's been putting the money in the wrong bank account. So that's likened unto everyone putting all of their life's energy into temporary, non-productive, and ultimately illusory things. And this, Kapila Dev continues into the next chapter, description of adverse fruitive activities. Kapila Dev will have quite a say here in the present chapter for another 25 verses. The chapter concludes on verse 45. As a mass of clouds does not know the powerful influence of the wind, a person engaged in material consciousness does not know the powerful strength of the time factor by which he is being carried. For the materialist, time is money, wrong bank account. But for the devotee, time is Krishna. this might be a somewhat useful utility in preaching Krishna consciousness right now, because it's on people's mind that this movie Oppenheimer won like a huge amount of Academy Awards. They just had the annual Academy Awards, won like, I don't know, 8 or 9 or 10. And so Oppenheimer, of course, he read the Bhagavad Gita, and he felt great regret that ultimately he, created the atomic bomb. They were consoling him, saying that if we, the good guys, Americans, whatever, didn't get it first, then the fascists and the Nazis, they would have gotten it, and then, how terrible that would have been. But anyway, he quoted that verse of Krishna, answering Arjuna's question, who are you, the universal form? Time I am, the destroyer of the worlds that come here. Except for you and your brothers, everyone here on this battlefield has been put to death. A great politician, Pandit named Chanakya, said that even one moment of time cannot be returned, even if one is prepared to pay millions of dollars. Inflation. Billions of dollars. Trillions of dollars. One can calculate the amount of loss, one cannot. There is in wasting valuable time, either materially or spiritually. One should be very alert in utilizing the time which he has at his disposal. So, Prabhupada in one place describes the alertness of the materialist compared to the alertness of the spiritualist compared to the alertness of the materialist. The materialist is very alert to make sure that not one moment of time is wasted. Time is money. But when he's given an invitation to come and join the devotees and attend the kirtan and hear discourses on Bhagavad Gita and Śrimad Bhāgavatam, what is his response? And when we get this response, no time. I don't have any time. A conditioned soul lives in a particular body for a fixed measurement of time. It is recommended in the scriptures that within that small measurement of time, one has to finish Krishna consciousness and thus gain release from the influence of the time factor. Whatever is produced by the materialist with great pain and labor for so-called happiness, the Supreme Personality of the time, as the time factor, destroys, and for this reason, the conditioned soul laments. Shukadeva Goswami's first teachings to Maharishi Parikshit in the second canto. With every rising and setting of the sun, a day passes and one's life is lost. And Prabhupada would even describe that a brand new baby, just born, 1 day old, or 1 month, 1 year old. That means that amount of time is subtracted from his lifespan. Make a joke with a little kid, I'm going to be 6 years old. And don't feel bad about it, We all get older, it's just a part of life, right? And when we're young, we're very happy, I'm going to have a birthday, I'm going to be 16 years old, I'm going to be 18, or I'm going to be 21, and I'm legal to go out and drink and get intoxicated. Isn't that wonderful? And as you get older, how old are you? Don't ask. Or you, like with an older person, you say, how old are you? When you grossly underestimate how old they are. Oh, that's right. The misguided materialist does not know that his very body is impermanent and that the attraction of home, land, and wealth, which are relationship to the body, are also temporary, and of ignorance only, he thinks that everything is permanent. So, the verse today is very, very nice and very kind of exact, but also mysterious and mystical. As the chariot of air carries an aroma from its source and immediately catches the sense of smell, Similarly, one who constantly engages in devotional service and Krishna consciousness can catch the Supreme Soul who is equally present everywhere. So Prabhupada, he quotes in the purport an often used analogy, which is used by Krishna himself in the Bhagavad Gita. As a breeze carrying a pleasant fragrance from a garden of flowers at once captures the organ of smell, so one's consciousness, saturated with devotion, can at once capture the transient existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who in his Paramatma feature is present everywhere, even in the heart of every living being. So this is very interesting. This analogy is generally used that one's consciousness can become influenced by one's surroundings, the atmosphere. So therefore, as practicing devotees, we have to be very careful not to expose ourselves unnecessarily to atheistic, lower modes of nature and association. Even Hiranyakashipu, he described to his son Prahlad Maharaj that we're like a crystal. The soul is like individual soul is like a crystal which reflects whatever light is shined upon it. Red light, green light, blue light, whatever. And of course he was using that Hiranyakashipu to describe what he thought was the bad association of the Vaishnavas, the loyal servants of Vishnu, that terrible Vishnu who killed his most beloved brother, Hiranyaksha, of which he took a vow to kill Vishnu because of doing this terrible thing. So, from this side, if the devotee makes his aromatic atmosphere, let's say our sense of smell, so the internal problems of the devotee is clean, internally and externally. Externally, we maintain cleanliness by taking regular bath. Sometimes people pass by the Harinam, or even I have the experience of people wanting to participate regularly in the Harinam, and their hygiene in bathing is questionable to slash or simultaneously offensive to the others present. So that's very important. But at the same time, Chaito Darpana Marjanam, Bhava Mahadevagni Nirvarpanam, cleansing the mirror of the consciousness, the whole pastime of cleansing the Gundicha temple is the analogy of very vigorous and thorough cleansing to the necessity of the cleansing of the heart, and how there are so many deep-rooted anarthas and long-standing misconceptions, unwanted things in the heart that need to be cleansed, so ultimately Krishna will feel inclined to sit down in all purity in our heart that has been purged of all ulterior motivations and simply desires of pleasing him. Kevala Bhakti, exclusively pure devotional service. And that not only qualifies us to go back home, back to Godhead, we're already back home, back to Godhead in that consciousness. Jivan Mukta Sauchite. Krishna is a person, so he is attracted to devotion. One of the symptoms of devotional service described in the beginning of Nectar Devotion, attracting Krishna. And of course, Prabhupada describes the emblem of attracting Krishna to the supreme topmost degree is Srimati Radharani. And as the full embodiment complete devotion to Krishna, all devotees may take shelter of her to be blessed and also to be trained and made very, very learned in all the ways of pleasing Krishna. Therefore, the spiritual master is understood to be her representative. When we come and see the deities of Radharani and Krishna, Radha Govinda, we are understanding personalities and relationships which are quite different from what we are seeing in terms of relationships of people, men and women in this world. In fact, it's the complete opposite, the perverted reflection. So the more that we are focused, as Prabhupada has described here, fully saturated in Krishna consciousness, saturated with devotional service, in full Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada would use this many, many times. Full Krishna consciousness. This is simply a simple way of all the different levels of devotional service. We're hearing from Kapila Dev how there's devotional service in different modes of nature, and the same Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur we were describing his Prema Sambhuti. He's given us Madhurya Kandambini, the different stages of devotional service. But the topmost stage is very simply described here: full Krishna consciousness. Also, a very, very interesting point here is because Krishna is the Supreme Soul, and he's the leader of all souls. His opinion is unrivaled. Krishna is known as, among so many other ways, he's understood in this way, as in so many other ways. He's Satya Sankalpa. Kalpa Drum, desire, Satya, truth. Whatever Krishna desires, whatever he wants, whatever he thinks, automatically, just by that thought or desire, it becomes absolute truth for everyone. And because of that supremacy, Krishna himself is not affected by others if they decide not to cooperate with him. Since the individual soul is present only in a particular body, see, Krishna is present in everyone's body, we're only present in our body. Since the individual soul is present only in a particular body, he is altered. That's a nice way of saying upset. When another individual soul does not cooperate with him. When there was opposition to George Bush going into Iraq and doing everything terrible that he did there, his response, his Texas response was, I guess we're going to have to agree to disagree. The super soul, however, is equally present everywhere. Individual souls may disagree, but the super soul being equally present in everybody is called unchanging or avikari. So the answer, and the only answer, Bhakti Mama Vijanati, only by devotion. It's not, Prabhupada would say, it is not, I can accept it or reject it. It is mandatory. The individual soul, when fully, only by devotional service can I be understood as I am. Only in this way can I enter into devotional service, into Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada was challenged by some Charu Prabhu, he's American, but he was in Australia. He was one of the pioneers in Australia. So they went to the Paddington Town Hall, which is like, say if you go to like some, the equivalent of the West Village, or maybe, like where all the, like the anarchists and just like degenerates and self-styled poets and musicians and hippies and bohemians and, whatever kind of people were. And just one person interrupted and said, Swamiji, can you see God? And Prabhupada would say, and we'd say differently, say, if I can see, how does that help you? Or if I give you if I tell you, will you accept my answer? And Prabhupada's so powerful. When the person said, okay, I'll accept, and he said, yes, I can. And like the whole audience was like, whoa. Another time Prabhupada was speaking in a small, very place temple in London, and one young lady's Indian, which is living in England, speaking with a British accent. Swamiji, can you see God? And Prabhupada's response to that was, yeah, you cannot see? Meaning that everyone should see. And he cornered her and said, what is the qualification for seeing God? And she was silent. Then he went on to say, do you want to see God? And she was like speechless. Actually, she said, no. Therefore, you cannot see. So it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, a person saturated with devotional service and full Krishna consciousness can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, either as Super Soul or as the Supreme Person, and of course, both fully saturated. So the best course for us as individual souls is to always be in accord with the desire and plan of the Lord. And in that way, if anyone disagrees with us, we can be introspective and think, I've done my level best, or we should be able to pass this self-imposed test upon ourselves, that I've done my level best, or I am doing my level best. I forget the context, but Prabhupada, one devotee is in lamentation to the Bhāgavatam, and Prabhupada says that as long as we're in accord with the instructions of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra, there is no need for despondency or anxiety, no matter how trying the conditions of life. So Prabhupada had that determination, and he weathered the storm through so much disagreement over decades. I was hearing recently a Prabhupada memory, and Jyotirmayi, she was one of the first French devotees to join, and also one of the first lady devotees. And she is a very highly qualified intellectual personality. And Prabhupada approved of her speaking and giving class, etc. So many things. You could listen to her memory. It's very interesting. I think it's number 12, Prabhupada memories. Hey, look it up. Jota, my YouTube. And she was saying that you have to see how Prabhupada would apply things according to time, place, circumstance, and individual, not just only the books, because you can misuse the philosophy, misquote it or misapply it, and not see how Prabhupada would present it according to time and place. This could be a type of controversial one, but I'm just going to state the facts. That there was one devotee who felt ostracized from ISKCON. This is during Prabhupada's time. And he expressed to Srila Prabhupada that his devotion to him as an individual, as a disciple, is unwavering, but he had a bad experience within ISKCON. And what did Prabhupada say? He said, that is all right. I also did not like the institution of my spiritual master. But there are differences, because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he made it known his dissatisfaction with the situation of the Gaudiya Math mission and different individuals who are in leadership position. And he even marked Srila Prabhupada as being qualified, and even instructed or even cautioned or made it known that Srila Prabhupada should remain outside of your association of Gaudiya Math. He was even presented to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Why is Abhayachara Arvinda outside? It is better to remain outside your company. In due course of time, he will do everything himself. You do not need to recommend him. Yet at the same time, Srila Prabhupada, in his creation of ISKCON, there is so much success and so much potency due to Prabhupada himself, and because of Prabhupada would describe his Western disciples as being like clean slates. They weren't contaminated by Mayavad philosophy or caste Brahmanism, ego. They actually, Tamal Krishna Maharaj, in his memory, he had to have a minor surgical operation in Bombay. And while he was under anesthesia, he had a dream that Prabhupada was making a presentation to all the previous spiritual masters who wanted to have a report on how the preaching was going here on planet Earth. And Prabhupada said that disqualified in so many ways. They can't practice austerity. They very difficult to follow rules and regulations, and maybe one or two other disqualifying points. But he said, but one thing that they can do in a very exemplary way is that they're completely dedicated to me and will do whatever I say. And then Tamal Krishna Maharaj woke up in the recovery room in the hospital, and there was Prabhupada sitting by his bedside. And Prabhupada said, I came here, and it was like an hour and a half distance from the temple through rush hour traffic in Bombay to this hospital, so that I wanted to stop the operation, that you shouldn't have the operation here. You should have gone back to America and got it there. But anyway, it was done. And then Tamal Krishna Maharaj told Prabhupada this dream that he had. Prabhupada said, yes, that is correct. And Prabhupada, he remarked towards the end of his stay with us that my spiritual master was not happy, but I'm very much happy in your company. There was one devotee, what was his name? He passed away, but he was there for the last 2 weeks. Anyway, he said, Prabhupada was saying that, quite different. I very much like your company. I'm not at all unhappy. So, we can weather the storms and disagreements and work very, very hard to maintain and to expand Srila Prabhupada's International Society for Krishna Consciousness, which the International Society for Krishna Consciousness' sole purpose is to extend the mercy, personal mercy of Srila Prabhupada, who, just like the aroma catches the sense of smell, so if we can represent Srila Prabhupada's personal mercy, which takes the practical form of intense desire to not only save all the fallen conditioned souls of this world, but to deliver them the actual pure love of Radha and Krishna, Radha and Govinda, and that will be the crowning success and glory and perfection of our lives. Hare Krishna. Yatavata rato granam avrinte ganda asaya evam yoga ritam cheta atmanam avikariyat. As the chariot of air carries an aroma from its source and immediately catches the sense of smell, similarly one who constantly engages in devotional service and Krishna consciousness can catch the Supreme Soul who is equally present everywhere. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Siddhari with his hand in the air.
Prabhu, you mentioned that one should be engaged in Krishna consciousness all the time. It's somewhere in the purport. I was wondering, is it also given the instruction by the Lord Swami, the nectar instruction, the essence of all instruction is to always chant Krishna's name.
Yeah.
So how can one do that?
The essence of all advice is to utilize one's full time in nicely hearing and chanting the Lord's divine name, fame, form, qualities, and pastimes, thereby gradually engaging one's tongue and mind. So, that's okay, you can take that literally and specifically once you chant all the time. I take that to indicate that we should be engaged in devotional service all the time. Srila Prabhupada wasn't chanting all the time. In fact, he was doing whatever was necessary to be done. You know, whereas others would be like, I don't want to be doing all this stuff. You know, I want to just be engaged in my bhajan. But then nothing will happen. Here's a little something here, let's see. Room conversation, Vrindavan, September 30th, 1976. One boy, he was coming to me in that 172nd Street. All my things were stolen. My tape recorder, typewriter. Fortunately, they did not touch my manuscript. See, that's the materialist. What is more priceless? Prabhupada's Śrimad Bhāgavatam translations or the 1950s typewriter? So some money was stolen. Then one boy who was coming to me told me, please come to my place, a loft, Bowery Street. I did not know that Bowery Street was not a good quarter. All bums and drunks. When I see them, one Jewish friend, he had an electrical shock. He told me, Swamiji, you have gone to Bowery Street? Oh, this is not your place. I do not know that it is full of drunkards. So I would lie down in front of my door, but they were respectful. When I go, these drunkards come and they respectfully give me way, and they would. Murray, his name was Murray, that was his last name, Paul, that 18-year-old. He was taking LSD, so I went there. And he did not go to work. Otherwise, he was working and getting daily $25. in some dock he was working. Anyway. So some people were coming. Then Mukunda began to come. His wife, another black boy, half black, Jurgen, Kalyapati, Paul Jurgens. I gave him name. So this Marty, he showed some crazy features, so I thought it is dangerous to live with him. So I approached Mukunda, get me some place. So I kept my goods at Mukunda's house and then went to live with Jurgen. That is another loft. So in this way, with great hardship, sometimes here, sometimes there, in this way, I got $200 by selling book. And then I asked Mukunda to find out an apartment. He found this apartment, 26 2nd Avenue, one storefront down, one living quarters up. So I found it very convenient. Down I would lecture and hold kirtan. So he charged $75 per month for the apartment, small apartment. I think in a space like this, a room or less than that, everything is there. So this is a 1-bedroom, tiny pre-war walk-up apartment with kitchenette. That means like you walk in and there's enough room to like, stand in front of the stove and then turn around and then you're in front of the counter with the refrigerator. And then from there, Prabhupada is doing what he has to do to cook a feast for like 150 people, Sunday feast. Or every day cooking for like 18 hungry young men. And anyways, it's very nice. So many things, and Prabhupada had to do all this. He's doing all this. Then later, one of Prabhupada's godmothers, one of the famous ones who went to London, said, I had the proclivity to speak to highly intellectual, high-class people. And Swami Bhaktivinoda would preach to low-class American youth. I had no such. If you don't get off your high horse, you don't get down and do what you got to do. Revati Nandan describes how Prabhupada there in Surat, and Kaushalya was washing the floor, but Prabhupada said it was not done properly. So, all right, let me show you how to do it. So you take 2 buckets, and as you're washing, you wring it out, and in the dirty bucket, as it gets dirty, and then you always have clean water. And that way, you are cleaning the floor, not just moving the dirt around from one place to the other. And Prabhupada was very enthusiastic. He rolled up his dhoti, he was on his hands and knees, and scrubbing for like 15 minutes. Now you understand how to do it? Prabhupada had to, anything anybody in this movement knows how to do is because Prabhupada did it himself first. We shouldn't ask anyone to do anything unless we're able to do it ourselves. Or, okay, we got old and we can't do it as much, the young people. All right, but we did it. Does that answer the question? Anything else? Krishna Kripa. Krishna Kripa's contribution.
Doesn't matter. Thank you for a wonderful class with so many nice points. We were talking about how time shouldn't be wasted. And Prabhupada quotes this amazing verse from the Vishnu Purana in the Tatu Sloki, one of those purports. If even for a moment remembrance of Vasudeva, the personality of Godhead, is missed, that is the greatest loss, that is the greatest illusion, and that is the greatest anomaly. And you're talking
Where is that?
What's that?
Where is that?
That's in the purport of the Chatra Sloki verse.
Right.
I think it's
Which one?
34.
34.
The second one, yeah. And there's an analogy also that was sometimes used about, just like in this room, there's many radio waves. There might be the music on one station, the news on another. But if you have a radio, you can tune into it.
Right.
So in the same way, Krishna is pervading everything, and by engaging in devotional service, we tune into his presence. And you're talking about that association, and like the Bhishma and Drona were like the perfect example. By their association with Duryodhana and company, they ended up on the wrong side of the war.
There's the statement, it's in Adilila chapter 7. The pure devotee gives the non-devotee his association and is not affected by their misbehavior. In that way, those who are not devotees are given the chance to become devotees of the Lord one day. So that's Srila Prabhupada. Actually, Prabhupada's example here in New York, establishing the Krishna consciousness movement, our dear godbrother Baladev Vibhushan, who was Saraswati Maharaj's right-hand man in, well, one of the most important people helping him to compile the Prabhupada Lilamrita. He describes Planting the Seed, Volume 2, as Krishna Consciousness 101. That if you're going to be a preacher, you're going to establish a temple, Bhakti training house, a Krishna house, that this is how you, of course time, place, circumstance adjustment, but the mood of Prabhupada and just giving and loving and just wanting to share what he had in his heart, love of Krishna, that's the way we should all go about things. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Shri Bhāgavatam Ki Jai. Very nice garland that we use for decorating the Maha Mantra at the
Rama Guru Ki.
Hare Krishna.
And there were offerings during Srila Prabhupada Vyas Puja. And there were offerings during Srila Prabhupada Vyas Puja.